Heated.
All right, welcome to the Straight Red Card. Today, Brett and I are going to take on a multitude of topics. But, Brett, let's just start with DC United's survey that they did in the Baltimore area. And I guess they try to make it kind of generic because they asked in the survey whether or not Baltimore folks would like to see any of the following teams end up as a Baltimore team: FC Dallas, New York Red Bulls, Philadelphia Union. Like, that's going to happen. I mean, the Philadelphia Union just tucked in there in Philadelphia. That's a stupid question.
They're selling out every game.
Yeah, well, and I guess the point is they just want to make sure it's generic enough because they actually ask in the end whether or not they'd like to see DC United move to Baltimore. And, you know, I guess the news there is that it's not news at all. We've known about the whole stadium issue for DC United for a long time, so this is not surprising. And I'm not sure why it was a big deal or why it was brought up or why it was a big article throughout the week. But I thought I'd bring it up just to see, or just to point out how silly it was. We all know what's going on there.
What a silly poll, anyways. Just think about it. Could the people actually check every single box?
Yeah.
Cares what team ends up moving to Baltimore as long as Baltimore gets a team in the Baltimore fans' mind, you know?
Yeah.
Do they really care if it's DC United or Philly? Do they really care if
or the crew? They actually,
crew?
yeah. I forgot to mention the crew. They were in the survey too.
Well, I mean, that's just my point. Though, is that they shouldn't care which team. They should just care if they get a team.
Exactly.
It's the dumbest thing ever. You know, if you pull any city, Minnesota, or not city, but if you pull any state or city that's wanting an MLS team and ask them which team would you like to be moved over here, to transfer everything over, they don't care. They won't care at all as long as they get a team.
Right, because it's not going to be called the Baltimore Crew.
No,
or the
better not be.
The Baltimore Union. And Philly's not moving, and New York's going nowhere. They have their own specific stadium. FC Dallas, yeah, okay, attendance sucks there generally, but I don't think they're going anywhere. And this is
of all the teams that you listed there, DC United is the only team that doesn't have a soccer-specific stadium.
Right.
They're the ones that haven't. I mean, not that they don't want to have a soccer-specific stadium. They've been trying to get one for years.
Yeah.
But they're FC Dallas won't be moving anytime soon. I don't think they're going to be moving anytime soon. The organization plus the city forked over quite a bit of money for their stadium.
Yeah.
The crew's in the same boat.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to move anytime soon, if ever. And DC is the only one that doesn't have a stadium. Anything really holding them at DC outside of just the location itself. I think DC is missing out on the area. DC is missing out on an opportunity to have them as a permanent team. But
yeah, well, it'd be sad to see it happen. Obviously,
it'd be terribly sad.
Yeah, I mean, they have a history. Yeah, great. They're one of the franchises that over the years has been extremely successful, not only in the MLS but unbelievably outside the MLS as well. So it'd be sad to see that happen. All right, let's move on because we did also have a host of players that now that the MLS season is coming to an end for many of them are off and abroad, and I guess the question is whether any of these moves are either relevant or something we should pay attention to. The first one, let's just get to it. Brek Shea is going to be training with Arsenal. He shouldn't have any problem getting a work permit if Arsenal decides to keep him because they make all kinds of exceptions, and he certainly played a whole hell of a lot, even starting with Bob Bradley. So we saw Guzan, he easily got a work permit, and he probably didn't deserve one either.
You can make a second chance.
Sure, right. Yeah. Well, I just think that exceptions are made. They have these general rules. You have to play 75% of your, national team. But in the end, I think Shea's done enough. He would get a work permit.
If it ever came to that.
If Arsenal...
This is just a training stint. He's just going there to train for a month. However, it is coincidentally right before the transfer season opens.
Yeah.
But I see it just as a training stint.
I do too.
Which is what it's labeled as.
I mean, listen, not that Shea couldn't contribute something to Arsenal. I don't know what that something would be out of the box. He would definitely be warming the bench with his hind end for a long time. Not that Arsenal's doing that great right now, but they do have quite a few very good players. They don't need Brek Shea popping up. Although, you just don't ever know. I mean, maybe Brek's even better than we think he is. But I just don't see it.
No, I don't see it happening. Like I said, I see this being purely what it is, a training stint. He's going to get his name out there some more. He just recently signed a new contract with FC Dallas anyhow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to take a hell of a bid for him to even get a
chunk of change.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. I think he's just going to build his profile, his resume, if you will, and he'll be back at MLS next season.
Yeah.
And I think he'll be that much sharper, that much hungrier after spending a month with Arsenal. And
it's good experience.
I think it'll be good for him, yeah.
Yeah, it's good experience. It's a good experience to go and have, and he'll play on the training squad, and he'll get to play against some of these guys, and he'll
a couple of reserve games. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be good for him. I don't know if he can't play on the reserve squad though.
Can he not?
No.
Okay.
He can train.
Maybe some friendlies if they have any.
He can train. No, what he'll do is, of course, they always have the other, second team play against the first team, so he'll get some time in those kind of scrimmages, and that'll be good for him. And just generally figuring out what it's like to be in the English Premier League and what the training's like, and at least you don't have that language barrier. So I think it's a good move for Shea. Might as well dip your toes in and see what it's all about. But I think in the end, you're right. It's too soon. I'd be surprised if Arsenal signed him, although I would not be surprised if one of the lower teams in the rung, maybe mid-table and below, decide, hey, this guy's training with Arsenal. Obviously, he had a great season. Maybe we're going to throw up enough money to make it MLS, make it worthwhile to the MLS.
That'd be key right there.
Yeah, and that's
bring up enough money.
Yeah. And that is the key to everything. Sean Johnson, you mentioned to me earlier, is going off to Man United to train. I don't have any comment on that because it doesn't mean anything.
No. Again, it's going to be another training stint. Actually, Johnson's entire offseason is going to be unbelievably packed. He's with the U20, U23 team over in Germany right now. Then he's off to Netherlands to play with Generation Adidas.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally he's going to be training with Manchester United. And the fired goalkeeper coach actually stated that they're trying to get him a couple more training stints over in England as well.
Yeah.
As well as Man U. So basically I see him getting a lot of experience, getting a lot of training with some really high-end teams, and coming back next season sharp and ready to play.
And that's because, as you mentioned, before we move on, that his coach knows a lot of other coaches overseas.
His goalkeeper coach.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So that's why he's getting this opportunity. Yeah. On the other hand, Bill Hamid, who's been the backup for Klinsmann and is going to be the backup again coming up versus France, is off to West Brom. That might be a little bit more serious in the sense that there are a lot of crummy goalkeepers in the English Premier League. I don't care what anybody says. And a guy like Bill Hamid, who is young and really has a very high ceiling, I think. It's possible, especially with the history of American goalkeepers in the English Premier League, that somebody decides that this guy's worth it. Although, again, we're talking about a big work permit problem for Hamid.
Maybe one of our listeners can correct me, but I thought I read somewhere, it could have even just been a poster on Big Soccer, stating that Hamid actually has an end to Europe as far as getting a passport. I'm not sure. Again,
through a family member,
possibly. Yes, my guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure. Maybe somebody can correct us or just basically clarify on what the situation is.
Yeah, I was not aware of that.
I could have swore I read it somewhere that basically he has an end to Europe if he gets the chance to.
Yeah, I mean.
I don't know how many more years he has with DC. I think he's only played 2 so far. So, I mean, if you assume that it's a generic MLS contract, he's got another 2.
Mm-hmm.
Or another 1 maybe with options. So it might still take a decent bid because, I mean, he is DC's number 1 goalkeeper right now. So
yeah.
I don't see DC letting him go cheaply.
Well, yeah, they never want to let him go cheaply, or though, what is cheap these days? 8 million, 10 million, that sounds cheap, but if you're a great goalkeeper, and you do have a ticket, say, a la George John, people are willing to go after you, of course, as Blackburn proved. They're not willing to go after you and, really drop big bucks. So that was the problem with that.